Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, and ladies and gentlemen, of course, welcome back to a brand new LEGO Marvel's Avengers news update. And today, we have a ton of things to discuss. More importantly, we have about 86 characters to talk about, guys, which is kind of crazy. I wanted to make this video a few days ago, really got super duper busy, and then when I did try to record it, it turned out to be about 42 minutes long. So, yeah, I want to try to make sure that this one doesn't turn out that way, which is why I'm going to split it up, and you guys are going to see actually several different analysis type videos over the next few days here for LEGO Marvel's Avengers. And additionally to that, initially what I had wanted to do was, you'll notice right there on the character grid that we saw, I did like a little Photoshop thing where I just put like a circle around each one of the characters to specify which one I'm talking about. But the problem is that having those pictures in there made the video longer because I couldn't just skip through the pictures quickly. I still had to show them for at least a couple of seconds each. So because of that, this time I'm just going to have the main grid and I separated it line by line. And essentially, as I name these characters, we're going to be working our way from left to right. So as I name the characters, we're working our way going by alphabetical order, and we are going by the order of left to right. So if you're looking at the images, we start with Agent Carter. That's the very first picture that you see on the far left hand side, and then we'll work our way as we continue to, let's say the next character would be Agent Coulson, and so on and so forth. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's get rocking and rolling because we have a ton of cool things to discuss about, or to look at, or to discuss. I'm very confused, clearly. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, once I do this breakdown, don't worry, I will also do a showcase for some really cool gameplay that was shown for like Scar and Egghead and a bunch of really other cool characters. So I'll do that as well as Fing Fang Foom. We even got gameplay of him, which was kind of amazing, and some information about him as well, which was super duper cool. And additionally to that, I might also do a breakdown for some images. We'll see how much, or more importantly, how long those videos turn out. So with that being said, let's get it rocking and let's get it rolling. There are 86 characters to go through, as I mentioned before, but obviously that number is actually a lot higher because if, for example, character number 1 right here, Agent Carter, it's not just Agent Carter. We're also going to get the retired form of her as well, which was really cool that they're going to include like different variations within those specific characters as well. So technically, if you count those as two separate characters, we're well above the 100 count already for characters, just due to all the crazy amount of armors that Iron Man is going to have in the game. So keep that in mind, that obviously, even though I say 86, I'm well aware that it's actually a lot more if you separate those characters out to each playable character, let's put it that way, as a separate category. Now, with that being said, let's get rocking rolling. We have Agent Carter, then we move on to Agent Coulson, Agent Sitwell, which again shows you 3 different agent characters, so that's really cool. Of course, if you didn't know, there is going to be presence here from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, if you haven't realized that quite yet. That is really cool. I love that they have that in here. I love that they're giving that side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe some love as well, and it's pretty cool. Plus, we have things like, for example, Haley Atwell is actually voicing Agent Carter, which is really neat. The fact that they were able to get her to do it, and we're going to have some really cool original audio for the game. Nonetheless, let's carry on. We have Aldrich Killian, again, big surprise from Iron Man 3. Then we have Amadeus Cho, America Chavez, Akron, I don't remember how you pronounce his name, Arnim Zola, one of my personal favorites. Not the Arnim Zola from the comics, by the way. This is all the film one, so keep that in mind. That's why he looks different. Then we have Baron Strucker, Batroc, very cool to see him in here. I was kind of very surprised by the fact that Batroc actually made it into the game. I was like, whoa, okay, that's a bit of a surprise. And oddly enough, I don't know why, his little image looks a little bit different than what he looked like in the film. If you remember when he fights Captain America in the Winter Soldier early on the boat there. So a little different because he, of course, was played by George St. Pierre, who's bald. So I'm not sure what was up with that, but okay, let's carry on. We have Beth, we have Black Widow, Brock Rumlow, very surprised by that choice right there. Bruce Banner, of course, looking stylish and profilish. Then we have Bucky Barnes, very cool to see him. Butterball, so obviously if you're worried about obscure characters being in there, they will certainly still make an appearance. Then we have Captain America, Captain Britain, Cloud9, and Cottonmouth. So that is the first 20 characters right there. So I hope that was pretty clear. I separated the image obviously in 2 lines so you can see the top 10, or the top lane is the first 10, and then we worked our way into the bottom 10 there for the second half. So let's carry on to 20 through 40. So we have Crimson Dynamo, very cool. I was very, very happy about that because Crimson Dynamo is a cool character and is going to be a nice rival and foil for Iron Man to take on. Then we have Crossbones, very neat to see him there, of course. He's going to be making an appearance in Civil War, so that should be cool. We have Daredevil, very awesome, especially after that TV show, or the Netflix show, I should say. It's really cool to see Daredevil in here. Then we have the Detroit Steel Armor, which is an interesting addition in here. That's for sure. I was like, oh, okay, that's they definitely are pulling from the far reaches of the Marvel Universe, which is awesome because I was worried at first, just like many other people were, that we're only going to get characters specific to the films, and it's cool that that is not the case. So I'm very happy about that. Then we have Devil Dinosaur. Speaking of obscure and cool, that's insane. The fact that you're going to be able to summon the Devil Dinosaur in any area, because at least that seems to be the case. He is on the regular character selection grid, so unlike in LEGO Jurassic World where we had to go to a special summoning point for those giant dinos and even medium scale dinos, here you're going to be able to summon Devil Dinosaur, which is amazing. And Moon Boy is also in the game, and there's been like a little bit of a petition going for like adding Moon Girl into the game, so that's kind of an interesting addition. And the cool thing is that if you have Devil Dinosaur in play and you're controlling Moon Boy, you can actually ride on Devil Dinosaur, which is super duper cool. So that's definitely neat that you can kind of combine characters in that sense, and something that I would love to see in the future. Maybe they could do that and implement that with many other characters. Nonetheless, let's carry on. After Devil Dinosaur, we have Helen Cho. Again, very cool to see her as well. Dr. List, Dum Dum Dugan. That was a very pleasant surprise. Egghead, as I mentioned before. Dr. Eric Selvig. Ellen Brandt, Fandrill, who is, of course, from the Thor films. He's part of his little group of comrades, I guess we could call him. Then, this is the one that I was very, very stoked for, and that's Fing Fang Foom. A lot of people wanted to see Fing Fang Foom in the previous game in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Now they've added him, and there's some really cool things about him. Like, even though his minifig or his big fig is quite cool as it is, he can grow even larger in the open space, like in the free play area. So that sounds insanely cool, and I can't wait to see what that giant version of Foom will be. So that should be pretty exciting for sure. Then we have Gargoyle, Harley Keener, Keener, I don't know why I said it so weird. We've got Hawkeye, of course, he's got to be representing. Another one of Thor's buddies, Mr. Heimdall, or Heimdall, I always mispronounce his name apparently as well. Then we've got a lot of representation for Hulk. We have Hulk, Hulkling, and the Hulkbuster. So very cool that obviously you get Bruce Banner on a separate grid himself, and then the Hulk as a controllable character by himself as well. So they separated those out into 2 characters on the grid. I don't know if that will be the case in the full game, but I think that it might very well be, because I'm imagining that Bruce Banner can turn into the Hulk that we see in the films, whereas this Hulk seems to be a lot different in color, like his skin color and everything seems to be a lot more comic book colored Hulk. So I think that's why they separated the 2 and made them different on the character grid. Alright, so let's move on to 41 through 60. We have Stanbuster, Squirrel Buster, Fanbula Eddie, and also her counterpart, which is Gorilla Girl. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of people have said that on that grid, that might actually be Gorilla Man, and then they like essentially Fanbula Eddie would be able to transform into Gorilla Girl, so why would they have a separate grid for them? So that could be the case. There could be a chance that Gorilla Man and Gorilla Girl are in the game, and they're just represented in a different way on the grid. But I have a feeling like that has to be Fanbula Eddie and then also her counterpart, Gorilla Girl, which would be really cool, because if you're like me and you loved Gorilla Grodd and playing as him in the DC games, now we're going to have a Gorilla character playable in the Marvel games in the form of Gorilla Girl. So that's really neat to see. Now we move on to Iron Fist, Iron Man Mark 1, Iron Man Mark 38, which is, again, super duper cool to see. We also do have the Ironmonger, because, of course, the Mark 38 is Eagle. Igor. So keep that in mind, that Igor is pretty awesome, and I can't wait to have a face-off between Igor and the Hulkbuster. That's going to be a cool face-off, especially because a lot of us, if you remember when Iron Man 3 was coming out, a lot of people thought that the Igor suit was the Hulkbuster suit, and it's just going to be interesting to have the two of them facing each other. So that should be pretty neat for sure. Nonetheless, we have the Ironmongers I mentioned before. Then we have Iron Stan, which of course there's a lot of really cool, funny redesigns and costumes, like for example the Squirrel Busters I mentioned before and the Stan Buster. Those types of characters are obviously goofy, but they're really, really fun to have in the game because they add that extra depth of fun to the game itself. So I'm very, very, very stoked to see them appear in the game, and I don't mind it whatsoever. We then have Jane Foster, Jessica Jones. Very cool to see her appear in here, especially because I'm surprised because the Netflix show is obviously very mature. The Elias books, or Alias, Alias, I think it was Brian Michael Bendis that wrote those, right? And those books are a lot more mature in nature. That's the book by the name. That's the name of the book where Jessica Jones was introduced. So keep that in mind. I was kind of surprised that she was included in here because she seems like a lot more of a mature character. But that's awesome that she's in here, and it's going to be really, really cool to have the Defenders appear in this game. We have Curse, Loki, then. What this character is rumored to be is Lou Ferrigno, which is, of course, the original Hulk, the guy that played Hulk in the TV show, if you remember. So that would be a really, really cool character to throw in there. And I wouldn't be surprised if that really is him, because, of course, they've done a lot of cool stuff with, like, let's say even with the last Batman game, right? Like, Beyond Gotham, where they added characters like Kevin Smith was in there. And with the Jurassic World game, they had Jimmy Fallon in there. It'd be really cool to have Lou Ferrigno in the game, and I think that'd be super duper awesome to see. Then we have Mr. Luke Cage, Trevor Slattery, Mantis, Agent Hill, Maya Hansen. That was a very big surprise. The Mighty Destroyer, as I mentioned before. We also now moving on to Moon Boy, Moon Knight, who's one of my personal favorites, so I'm very, very, very happy to see him in the game. We have Kamala Khan, Nick Fury, of course, Odin, who was an amazingly cool DLC character in Marvel Superheroes, if you remember, so obviously very happy to see him return in the game here. We have Pepper Potts, Quicksilver, Red Skull, which was awesome, Rescue, Scarlet Witch, the Sentry, which is a very, very powerful character, so I'm really interested to see how powerful he will be in-game, actually. That should be pretty interesting. Then we have Sif, that's S-I-F, by the way. I apologize if I mispronounced that. We've got Scar, who's a super duper cool and intricate character. Very much kind of in the vein of the Hulk. I mean, he's obviously related to him and all, but we'll talk about that more when I do the Scar gameplay showcase, but it's really cool to see Scar here. We have Speed, Squirrel Girl. Of course, we have the Squirrel Buster, so we must have also the pilot of that Buster, and that is Squirrel Girl herself. We have Stan Lee, or Stan the Man Lee, I should say. We've got Thor, and then we also have Jane Foster Thor, who is actually the current Thor in the comics, so that's really cool that they actually included her. Of course, we knew that a while back already. We got images of that, but it's really cool that in the game you're gonna get Thor, you're gonna get Jane Foster, and you're gonna get Thor Jane Foster, which is just really, really neat. Again, I love the amount of depth that they're going with for this game, with all of the variety of characters that we're getting. Nonetheless, let's carry on to the Collector, which, come on, that's so cool. That is really, really, really neat to see him appear here. And the one interesting thing about the Collector is that the only area that we've seen him in, so to speak, was, or where he played a part, was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, was in the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I am obviously very, very hopeful that we get some sort of Guardians of the Galaxy representation here, whether it be a DLC pack like they did for Arrow, for example, for Beyond Gotham or something like that. I would love, love, love to see some type of a level, and then, of course, a bunch of characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy. That'd be super duper neat to see. Nonetheless, we then move on to Tony Stark, who rounds out our 80 character roster. We still have 6 more characters to look at, though, so let's go ahead and flip to the next image here. And we round it out with Ultron. Of course, that is the broken up version of Ultron, the Mark 1 Ultron, I guess you could call it. And it's obviously safe to assume that there's going to be other variations of Ultron. Ultron Prime and Ultimate Ultron will probably be appearing in the game. I don't know if all 3 would be there, but it makes sense since they have Mark 1. And if you remember in the previous trailer that we got, at the end they had, I think that was Ultimate Ultron, or maybe that was Ultron Prime that appears. I don't remember. Was that Ultron Prime? Nonetheless, there will be at least one other variation of Ultron, of course. We also have the Vision, Volstagg, of course, rounding out our list of friends and buddies for Thor. Then we have War Machine, which was super duper cool to see. Hopefully he'll have obviously some other armors to put on, like a couple of different versions of the War Machine suit itself would be cool. And then the Iron Patriot would be kind of neat to see in there as well, because obviously this is the cinematic universe. Typically it would be Norman Osborn piloting that outfit, but since in the cinematic universe they showed it to us, if you remember in Iron Man 3, I think it makes sense to throw it in here as well. Nonetheless, we also have Wiccan or Wycan. I always mispronounce his name as well, so I apologize in advance. And to round out the list, of course, we have the Winter Soldier. So again, there is Bucky Barnes in the game as well, and his counterpart, the Winter Soldier himself. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Wow, wow, woo-wee. What an amazingly stacked roster of characters we have already. And this is just the beginning. I mean, just think ahead that there is still probably, I'm guessing, about 80 to 90 more characters that we're going to be revealed to or privy to, and that is just insanely super duper uber cool. I cannot wait to see the final roster. It is going to be insanely cool, insanely varied, which is going to be super duper fun to see. Nonetheless, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's news update for LEGO Marvel's Avengers. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like. That would be super duper cool, and I will of course catch all you lovely folks next time. Please don't forget to also check out the gameplay / screenshot video that I'll be working on, and hopefully we'll have up tomorrow. Nonetheless, have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys later, alligators. Bye-bye.